This video will take you through the solutions for the Module 3 practice test. A reminder that the formulas that we'll be using in the practice test and that will be given to you in the final test are included on the first page of this practice test. This video will cover the questions on page 2. In our first question, we have 93 patio blocks, and we're told that that covers 124 square feet of area, including space and sand between the blocks. We want to know how many of the same patio blocks we need if we want to cover an area of 188 square feet. First, we need to think about the relationship between these two variables. We have the blocks, and we have the area they cover. If we think about changing one variable, so for example, increasing the number of blocks, we can see that that would cover more area. Since both variables are increasing at the same time as we increase the number of blocks, we increase the area covered. This is a direct relationship. So we can start by figuring out our value for k. We know from our formula sheet that for a direct relationship, y equals k times x. I like to set these problems up so that the variable I'm solving for is labeled y, so my patio blocks will be y, and the area covered will be x. So subbing in the information for one set of values that I know, both x and y, I have 93 blocks equals k times our area x, 124 square feet. To get k by itself, I divide by 124 on each side. I can check this value, 93 divided by 124, on my calculator. And this comes to a terminating decimal, 0.75. So I can use that if I like for k. If it had been a repeating decimal, I don't want to round here. I could have kept it as a fraction just as easily, 93 over 124. Either way, just make sure you're not rounding at this step. Now that I know k, I can use it and my other variable I'm interested in, an area of 188 square feet, to find out how many blocks I would need for that. So I start again with my direct relationship. So we have our direct relationship equation again, y equals kx. Here we're trying to find the number of patio blocks, which I left as variable y, times our value we found for k. You could use the decimal form since it terminated, or keep it as a fraction, either way, times x is 188 square feet. You can do the calculation, y equals 0.75 times 188, and we get 141 blocks are needed to cover 188 square feet. You can check and make sure your answer makes sense. This was a direct relationship, so more blocks should cover more area. We know that 93 patio blocks covered 124 square feet. We increased our area to 188 square feet, so we should see an increase in the number of blocks, and we did, 141 blocks. We'll do another ratio proportion question next. Question 2. A hydraulic pump is driven with an electric motor that runs at 1800 RPM. So the motor has a speed of 1800 RPM. The pump must rotate at a speed of 1200 RPM. The pump is equipped with a 6-inch diameter belt pulley. What diameter pulley is required on the motor? So we're talking about two variables here. We talk about the diameter of the pulley, and we talk about its rotation speed. This is an example we talked about in the lesson notes. As the diameter of a pulley or gear increases, its rotation speed, the time it takes to go around, decreases. So this is an indirect relationship. I can label my variables. So I'm looking eventually for the diameter, so I'm going to use that as y. My rotation speed I'll call x. I need a pair of variables. I'm told that the motor runs at 1800 RPM, and I'm told that the pump rotates at 1200 RPM, and I know the pump has a 6-inch diameter belt pulley. So these pieces of information, the 6-inch diameter pulley and rotating at 1200 RPM, go together. I can use those to calculate k. Since this is an indirect relationship, I know y equals k over x. I can sub in my diameter for y, so 6.0 equals k over x is 1200 RPM. To get k by itself, since it's being divided by 1200, I multiply on the other side. 6 times 1200 equals k. So k is 7200. Once I know k, I can use that to solve for my unknown variable, again starting with the indirect relationship y equals k over x. I'm trying to find y, the diameter of the pulley, knowing k is 7200, and x, the speed of the pulley on the motor, is 1800. So y is 7200 divided by 1800, or 4 to 1 decimal place, 4.0 inch diameter pulley on the motor. Again, I can check and make sure my answer makes sense. This was an indirect relationship. So the diameter of my pulley decreased from 6 to 4 inches, so the speed should increase, and it was 1200 RPM and up to 1800 RPM. So all the answer makes sense. The final question on this page. A typical Canadian household uses an average of 857 kilowatt hours of electricity per month. You check your usage and find you're using 890 kilowatt hours per month. What is the percent increase of your usage compared to the average? And we'll answer to 1 decimal place. If you look on your formula sheet, the formula for percent increase or percent change is the final value minus the initial value. We find the difference between them, and we divide by the initial value, or what we're comparing to, times 100%. So we're not looking at a change in time here, sort of the kilowatt hours 1 month to the next, but we are told what we're comparing to. We're comparing to the average. So that is our initial value, whatever we're comparing to. So this is our initial value, the average use. The final value is our usage. So final value is 890 kilowatt hours minus the initial 857 kilowatt hours divided by the initial or average value of 857 kilowatt hours. And at the end, we multiply by 100 to get to a percent. On your calculator, you need to make sure that you're doing this difference or subtraction first. So if you're doing this in a single step on your calculator, make sure you put that portion in brackets. So bracket 890 minus 857, close the bracket, then you can divide by 857 and multiply by 100%. Whoops. And I can see that doesn't make sense. I made a mistake typing in here, so I'm going to redo that. 890, whoops. Bracket 890 minus 857, close the bracket, divided by 857 times 100%, 3.8506, or a, to 1 decimal place, 3.9% increase. The next video will take you through the solutions on page 3 of the practice test.